All right, welcome to the info session for the Scrum internship. So the way this will work, at least initially, I'll give a few remarks and walk through what I think some of the questions might be, try and cover as much information as I can. And then, and even while I'm doing that, if you want to open up the comments and or pose a question, so I think we're live on both Facebook and YouTube. So if you place comments or questions, those will come to me, and then I'll be able to answer them. So feel free to drop them into the chat at any point. Like I said, I'll try and cover as many bases as I can, and then, like I said, just circle back and answer questions. So I'll start by saying the reason that this came about was I met with Larry, and he had expressed that there was a large number of folks that had some experience and were going through his training program for to become better Scrum Masters. And we thought that that would align with where we are at, which is training people for software engineering roles. And we wanted to explore the opportunity to potentially add that as one of the offerings that we actually have the apprenticeship program for. So this is sort of an early precursor to number one, figure out, is this a place where we can add value? Number two, determine where the industry is in terms of placing people and put us on the path where we can start creating this program and giving people an opportunity to get more work experience. So this is initially not starting out as an apprenticeship opportunity. So I want to be clear, and there's a distinction between apprenticeship and internship. So we're starting as an internship because we need to have a little bit more background and understand what is the required training and put together the actual standards and then apply to the state for a registered apprenticeship program. And that process does require that we have, a level of detail and granularity to what the work is going to look like, as well as what people are expected to learn over that period. So we figured that the internship would be a great way for us to bring some folks in, have them job shadow and see how we currently implement Scrum and how we currently manage our team and the workflow as an organization, and then start assembling some of those building blocks that we would need to formalize the program, and then be in a position where we can talk to our apprenticeship consultant and get the rest of the work standards written out and be able to get that submitted and open up the opportunity for more people. So this is a limited opportunity to basically as many interns as we can handle. And so I think that's probably two. Maybe convinced that we may be able to take on, one more person. And largely it's a lot of work effort on our part to make sure we're adding value for the interns. So we don't look at this as like folks that are going to go run and get us virtual coffee. This is, our goal is to provide an opportunity for people to get work experience and for us to figure out what are the pieces to transition from an unpaid internship opportunity to a paid apprenticeship opportunity. So we want to start with this as sort of an experiment and a safe place for us to learn, and then be able to apply this and create an opportunity for many more people. So I'm generally opposed to internship and unpaid internship opportunities. So I'll say from the very beginning, we want to make sure that this provides a lot of value and is a great learning and hands-on experience opportunity for folks. I would anticipate it's going to be a 2 to 3 month, roughly 20-hour a week opportunity. And that would give us enough overlap with when we have our meetings with our clients, when we do some of the close open ceremonies, and make sure that there's just enough coverage and we can get enough done and learn enough over that period to provide meaningful experience and to lay the foundation for the next step. So that's sort of the overarching goal. We're 100% virtual at this point. So this would be a scenario where all of the meetings and all of the activities would take place remote. We anticipate that at the end of the program, we could be in a position where we could hire one of the interns, but if we're not in that position, then we would wait and we'd roll out the apprenticeship and then bring someone on as an apprentice intern or an apprentice Scrum Master. That said, that distinction is, fairly slight, and so my goal is to get as much as we can accomplished over that 3-month period so that we're ready to sort of ramp this up and create more opportunities for more folks. The Learnings that will take place are largely, like I said, hands-on. You'll be shadowing the current Scrum Masters and seeing kind of how we also interact with some companies that consult with us to basically help improve their workflows. And they don't have any of our apprentices, but they do utilize some of our other coaching. So that's largely the opportunity. It's going to require someone that is going to be able to hit the ground running fast, someone that can add a lot of value, and someone that's willing to apply some skills to make sure that folks are good to go. So one of the questions is, how do we prepare people and onboard? So our current onboarding process, obviously there's a lot of paperwork involved because not only are we hiring, traditionally we're hiring people as employees, but we also are putting them through the process to become an apprentice, which requires a little bit more documentation and work standards, things like that. Once someone understands those, then typically we'll make sure that they have the relevant skills through coursework. So because I think a lot of the candidates may be coming with some coursework done for as being a Scrum Master, then I think in this case for these interns, the process is going to be job shadowing for probably the first few weeks, coming up with a 30, 60, 90-day plan that will kind of encompass what both the intern wants to get out of the experience and what we're hoping to see in terms of growth over that period of time. So we largely want the Scrum interns to help create that path and help create like what the onboarding process is going to be in the future. So we anticipate that there are going to be individualized things that folks might need more support with, like some of our specific technology. But I think that's the beginning of the process, which is job shadowing and making sure that the person can start adding some value as quickly as possible. We don't have a like an incubation curriculum or anything for Scrum at this point. It's largely we're hoping we'll work that out. We'll figure out as we're building the plane what's going to be needed. So hopefully that helps. There's not a lot of preparation I'm hoping that's going to be needed, but my guess is you'll have some familiarity with like Jira, but we have some resources that folks can look into if they're wanting to dig in more inside of Jira or Asana, some of the tools that some of our other partners use. In terms of, so question, do we need to have already paid and passed the Scrum class? No. I'm not going to say that you need to be completely done with any classwork or training that you're going through. I'm really looking to assess, do you have enough skill to be in a position to help us move the ball forward? So we'll determine that during the interview process. And then as long as we see that, hey, it's going to be super helpful for both you as a candidate and for us as an organization to, make some progress. We don't want this to be a distraction to our operation. We want it to add value. And so that means that whether you have a certificate or whether you've completed a program, if you've got the requisite skills to add more value than what we do right now, then I think it makes sense. So hopefully that answers your question. So you don't have to have already obtained a certificate or certification. So all of our candidates that come into the apprenticeship program just have to have a high school diploma and the other like qualities and traits that will make them successful in software engineering. They don't have to have any prior experience. And so we're used to bringing people along that have, no experience to get into the software realm. On the Scrum side, we want someone that kind of understands what the process is and can help us fill in some of the gaps as quickly as we can. Right. So that's the whole purpose to having this. We want to be able to eventually not have myself and the other senior instructors acting as both instructors, product owners, customer success managers, and Scrum Masters. We want to start breaking them out. What if we are out of state? How does that work? So right now, there's no issue. Anybody can be located anywhere. So as long as you can be available during the business hours that we maintain, then that's fine. You could be in any state at this point. Because it's just an internship opportunity, there's no money changing place, so you're not technically an employee. So because of that, we don't have to worry about the employment rules. That will shift if there was a job offer made, because we are in California and we only operate in California. So the person that works for us, if we transition into a paid position, would need to live in California. And by then, hopefully, we're out of COVID and we're back in person. We do have two campuses, one in Escondido and one in Encanto, Southeast San Diego. And so we would hope that when we make offers to folks, I'm hoping and that we can do that before we're done with COVID. We'll be remote for a little bit longer and then transition to in person. So we envision we are going to have Scrum Masters. I just don't know when. That is largely dictated by the outcome of this internship. If the internship is super successful, we can get everything submitted to the state. We get recognized to be able to have an apprenticeship program for Scrum Masters. Then we could immediately start bringing people into the next cohort. That could be fall or winter. How do we know that we would financially be able to do that, commit to that? I don't know what that means. So this is definitely an opportunity that's going to require some work and effort, and it's like at this point unpaid, but this recording is being published, so this will be available for other people. If somebody else comes along afterwards and wants to be able to kind of like catch up, we are going to make this recording available for folks. So as soon as this is over, hopefully it just stays live and people can go back in and replay it. The goal is to share enough information so that folks can make a decision about whether it's worth them investing their time to take part. And again, we want the exchange to be that folks are getting a good amount of experience and that we're getting to test out, is this going to work? Can we create a pattern where we can make this successful long term? What other questions do you guys have? Okay, so the question is, if we are offered a job and can put in that 100%, how do we know when and if it grows into a position we'll be able to afford to relocate? So I can give you the rates that we use right now for software engineers. I don't know if they're going to be higher or lower than Scrum Masters because it's done by the industry standard. And so we take that and there's a percentage. So that's calculated by like the state. The state says, okay, this is the wage that is typically paid, and this is the wage that you would pay for an apprentice. So in terms of what the actual hourly is, don't know and haven't even begun to do the research on that because we're trying to do a small experiment first to see if this is a viable solution. Because it may make sense for us to, instead of offering a Scrum Master, offer a apprenticeship program for product owner or product manager, right? I just don't know yet. So the first step is to try out, like, does this fit and does this work? And can we make this model work for other students? The software engineering apprenticeship right now is $18 to start, $19 at 6 months, $20 at 1 year in. And you could stay as long as 2 years, but many of our students will be done after the first year and we'll get them into great software engineering roles at the end of the year, right? So I've gotten folks jobs working at Red Hat, IBM, Deloitte, Walmart Labs, Sony, HP, Facebook. So we're super successful in the software space, and we're hoping that we can create those same opportunities for folks in Scrum, in product manager, in all of the other supporting roles that are needed at like a SaaS company. So this is just, step 2 of the process. You start with, one occupation, and then we start determining what other occupations we can make viable in this model. So that said, I don't know the final numbers. We generally do not pay relocation fees. So you'd have to, figure out, does this make enough sense that you'd want to spend, I don't know whether it's going to be 6 months or it's going to be a year, getting paid to go through an apprenticeship opportunity when that becomes available. And that's a, very personal decision. So, but this, like, being able to pay someone to learn on the job is already sort of challenging enough. There are no apprenticeship programs that I am aware of that pay relocation fees. So it's going to have to be looking at the wage and determining if that's going to allow you to sustain yourself, and if it's a living wage by your living standards. That said, when we do have the apprenticeship program, it is like published and folks know at the very beginning what the rate is. It's not like a negotiation that happens at some point in the future. It's like when we announce it, we tell people this will be the starting rate for this occupation. So at this point, the internship is, again, unpaid opportunity, but I think it adds a lot of value and for both parties. So it's going to fit for some people, and the folks that it doesn't fit, again, I just have to say, we're trying to create a better opportunity, but it can't be done overnight because there's just too much risk involved in going through the entire process without knowing it's a viable occupation, right? There are not very many software apprenticeships. So we have to kind of start. Step one is identifying, can we make this a sustainable operation, and does it add enough value, and can employers see that this is a great pool of talent to hire from? And if all of those things align, we can get the standards and get the state to approve, then it goes on to the next step. So it is just sort of like a step-by-step process. Is this program for Scrum Master, will it be similar to what is there for a coding person? I mean, people who want to learn on the job. Yeah, so the idea eventually is that some folks will be able to come into the program that have not gone through all of the training that some of the folks that I talked to the other day have, right? So it would be at some point some sort of like collaboration where after you've gotten to a specific skill level and you feel like you've learned a certain base level of skill at, for example, the job hackers, and then once you've gotten to that phase, we could then provide additional training and hands-on experience to get you the rest of the way there. So there's always going to be some requisite knowledge. I don't know where those lines are. Again, why we're starting with an internship to figure out some of those, like what is the level that's needed, and we'll assess some of that during the interview process. And we may decide, if we have a bunch of candidates, let's select candidates that maybe are in the earlier part of the curriculum, some in the middle, some that have already graduated. Let's figure out, and let's take a first stab at, is this going to be enough? Then once we can determine, okay, this is the level that's required for us to at least know that this person is going to be successful, we can do the rest of the training. We do that with our software engineering program. So our software engineering program, people don't have to have any prior experience. Right now, they can come in and we can ramp them all the way up to ready for day one on the job. In the future, we may have a pre-apprenticeship program, which will allow people to get some skill. Then when they come into the regular apprenticeship program, they'll be able to level up and get more hands-on experience, but they will already have some. So it's a little, like I said, it's a little bit of a process to figure out. We want to make something viable first and make sure that we can get employers demanding that people go through this program and hire them and then be ready for jobs. And once we can prove that, then we can work backwards and figure out, okay, so where are the different markers that we need to get to? And this process for the software engineering took us 9 months to get that done. I think we'll go a little faster the next time because we already have the experience of dealing with the state the first time. So much of this is dealing with how do we both make sure that the demand is met out in the space and that there are jobs that align with what we're training, and can we get the state to recognize and understand that we need this and that everything should be pushed through as quickly as they can. So awesome. So a few comments, people are kind of digging the opportunity, so it's great. That's one of the reasons why, I was encouraged by Larry to share it with you. It was not my goal is generally not to provide opportunities that don't lead to jobs. I tend to focus on almost exclusively on jobs. And this one, the goal is not necessarily to get at the end of the program, get a job. Instead, it's to learn from it and gain some more experience. And then at that point, determine, okay, do we need it even more? Or maybe it does result in being able to connect with an employer and get something going. So what are the next steps? How many people usually apply? Would this be part of the first cohort? So next steps are, there's an application form that I put out. So I can put another link in the job hackers today with a link to this video and the application. We've already had a few people submit. I think there was 5 or 6 people that submitted applications yesterday. So we will probably very quickly, I'd say in the next few days, close the applications and then start inviting people to, we'll probably do a video interview first where we send people out a link to record their answers to a few questions. And then once that's done, we'll probably do panel interviews with candidates that we think would be super good fits and then let people know. I would anticipate we could be notifying people by like the end of, well, it's weird because there's a holiday. So like we're on a Friday and there's a holiday. So it might be like right after Labor Day that we would be able to let people know, like, you know, like we'd love you to come in and be an intern for the next few months. So this is the first time we've done this. We generally do not do internships. We generally only do apprentices, but this may become part of the norm for like as we add new apprentice roles, because it does require a lot of work to make sure that they're going to be successful. I don't do anything that I don't have the intention of making successful, and it's a process. It's iteration, like any kind of agile. We take small experiments, we tweak as we're going along and refine the product. So, you know, the MVP of this is a successful internship where we learn a lot, person gains a lot of insight and able to apply some of the things that you've learned. And then next phase is, okay, codify it into a program, get it approved by the state, and then run a pilot. Then if the pilot goes well, then we keep working on ramping up more cohorts. So we're in like -1 in terms of like cohorts. So it's -1, then it's 0, and then the first cohort would be, you know, ready to go. I would say hopefully this whole process will be done in less than a year. So well inside of a year, I'd like to be ramped up on not just this, but hopefully one more occupation, which I'm thinking is going to be something in the product space, because I'm hearing from employers that they're having a hard time finding a good supply of product. So in terms of next steps, I'll put the links out there. I think hopefully that will give everybody a fair shake at like figuring out if this is a good fit and expressing interest. And then the reason for the video interviews is just logistically, it's easier for us to get the video so that we don't have to schedule a bunch of like times for interviews like all over our calendars. And so if we can get the videos done as the first wave, I know some people don't like it. It seems less personal, but at the end of the day, like it gives much more people the opportunity to submit than if I could only like fit 30 appointments on my calendar. Then only, you know, 30 people would be able to potentially apply. So we found it works really well for folks in the past. It sort of evens the playing field in terms of folks being able to kind of pick a time that works for them, get the questions recorded, you know, 5 or 6 minutes to respond. And then it lets us figure out, okay, these are folks that we want to have come in and have a deeper conversation. This is open to anybody. So, you know, I was thinking that, you know, based on what Larry was saying, there could be a lot of people in the job hacker community that this would make sense for, but this isn't exclusive. Anybody that you think might be a good fit, please feel free to share it. Let them know that this is available for them to get more of their questions answered. And again, there's no geographic constraints at this time. Only that, you know, if we ourselves were to make an offer to someone in the future, it would have to be someone employed in California. But it's very likely that person could be with us for a couple months, and then we're starting to talk about this out in the space, and someone says, hey, do you have any folks? And I could say, yeah, we have someone that just interned. So there's a great way that we could potentially connect. But I don't want someone to set their goals that like the outcome of the internship should be to get a job. Instead, it should be to learn from the experience, and then at that point, open up the opportunity for more people to come behind you, right? So it's kind of one of those paying it forward type deals. Any other questions? More than happy to hang out here for a few minutes if you're trying to figure out how to submit questions, or if you want to shoot me an email. My email is mike@sdcs.io. So I'll hang out here for a bit, see if there are more questions. If anything comes through my email, then I will respond to that as well. Yeah, there's a potential for a move if a candidate wants to eventually work for the program for San Diego Code School. But I want to be clear, like it sounds like there's strong demand for Scrum Masters throughout the country. So maybe just as viable that there could be an opportunity to get hired somewhere else. I could definitely vouch for the experience and the person, what you've done during the program. It's more likely that if I were to connect with an employer, it's more likely it would be an employer like in the San Diego area because that's where my network is the deepest. And that's why, we try and focus on hiring here. But it's entirely likely, especially with COVID, that, companies looking, we could make a connection. I just don't want that to be the focus of the 3 months. It's like, hey, let's do job prep and interview prep and be getting you ready for that. And it's just beyond what we're currently trying to achieve. But I do realize that folks that are not working need jobs. So sweet. All right, I'm gonna do one more pass of my inbox and make sure that there's no questions there. And then if nobody else has any questions, we're gonna end it. This will be available for folks. And so, who is our target market? A target market for what? For the like Scrum Master role, for software engineering in general, like. Probably running where I have a wacky tan on my arm, but it's because I'm a cyclist. So, so if you could narrow down on that question, who is your target market? I'm not really sure for which product for Scrum Masters or for the apprenticeship program. I'm going to assume you mean the apprenticeship program. I'll mention that, but if it's something else, then you can clarify. So our target market for the apprenticeship program is folks that are 16 to 24 out of school youth, folks that come from a diverse background, so women, LGBTQ, Latinx, Black, neurodiverse. Those are the folks that we're trying to reach and provide opportunities, folks that are often overlooked and they don't necessarily see that they have a career path to go through a 4-year college experience. So we want to provide an alternative pathway and prove that this model can work, create a viable playbook that we can hand off to other cities and help other cities implement apprenticeship patterns for technical roles. So if we could get this to spread to other communities and helping those individuals in that space, that nothing would make me happier than that. So we need way more women. We need way more people that look like me. We need way more neurodiverse people in the space. So anybody that fits into those categories would be the best fit. When you say 16 to 24, that's our target, but we don't discriminate against folks that are like the traditional age that people will typically get into a coding boot camp. So when folks are looking for coding boot camps, they're typically 25 to 35. And they typically have a degree and it's in the space outside of technology and they're looking to transition in. We've had success with folks that are over 35. And if they are over 35, they typically have more work experience and you can usually come in at a higher salary because they have like usually some expertise in some industry and they just want to be, software engineers. So I don't want to say we limit or deny anybody the ability to come through the program that we believe will be successful. But when you say who's our target market, it is folks that haven't had an opportunity to explore a career yet, which is slightly different than what it used to be when we had like a tuition-based program and we were doing a traditional coding boot camp. And a lot of that was helping people transition from one job to another. Like they hated their job and they wanted to do something else. Now we're a little bit more focused, and it doesn't exclude people, but we're focused on trying to give people an opportunity that haven't had one yet. Or, maybe they've messed up. We work with folks that are in the criminal justice system. We work with folks that haven't really gotten a shot at all because they're aging out of the foster care system and they need a well-paying career. And so if it makes sense for them to explore a career in software engineering, we want to be one of those options for them. So that's the main goal, is providing opportunity and options for people that are, they're undefeated. They work hard. They just need a shot. So that's the target market. People that need a shot, not necessarily people that have had, lots of experience. Because I feel like those folks have plenty of other means that they could potentially use to transition. Awesome. All right, I'm gonna end it here. And again, thank you. I hope that you apply, and I have an opportunity to chat with you more about the opportunity one on one. Thanks again.